In the future, sea levels rise due to fast climate change. What's more, humankind chooses to move to space. They construct covers among Earth and Moon's orbital planes also, go through many years moving most residents there, after humankind has settled down. Covers 8, 12, also, 13 proclaim themselves the Adrian Republic and they start going after different sanctuaries, starting off many years of war with the Allied force. Presently the people left on Earth need to live building weapons and parts for the robots utilized in this conflict. The best fighter in the military is the unbelievable Captain Young-yi, who is presently in an unwanted town and awakening from a blast. There are robots coming after her and she quickly protects herself with exact shots and inventive utilization of the hook that accompanies her weapon. The humanoid robots are simple for her to overcome. Yet another sturdier model on 4 legs shows up, which will be more enthusiastically to battle alone. Young-yi picks key concealing spots and shocks the robot with a shot that lights it ablaze. However, the robot has its own set of extinguishers and is before long all set once more. Utilizing the hook, Young-yi heaps a lot of metal bars together and drops them on top of the robot when it draws nearer, successfully catching it. Then, she takes cover behind a vehicle to do her last shot, just to get distracted by a little doll holding tight the vehicle's back mirror. This interruption permits the robot to shoot her first, and Young-yi is pushed back. However, when she sees her wrecked hand she finds she's an android and had barely any insight into it. Unexpectedly an alert rings and the town vanishes. It turns out this isn't the real Young-yi. She really died in battle quite a while back. Presently a group of scientists is utilizing a duplicate of her mind to attempt to make the perfect army android that could be duplicated and sent off war. There hasn't been a lot of progress because during the simulations, which reproduce Young-yi's last fight, she generally loses in similar spot and they don't know why. The head of the group is Young-yi's own little girl Seo-yeon, who needs to watch the face of her mom die again and again. There's likewise Sang-hoon, the director of the task, who chooses to make an extraordinary show for the higher-ups of the military to advance their android, which they're calling Young-yi. Sang-hoon's show incorporates extravagant eating and an outline of the set of experiences behind the conflict, yet the fighters are exhausted by this and maintain that he should quick forward through what they definitely know. The video explain how they're planning Young-yi's brain cortex and switching it over completely to information to foster the most exceptional battle order man-made intelligence ever. Then, Seo-yeon illustrates how the simulations have been recording standards of conduct. Anyway, the soldiers notice the android hasn't gotten away from the reproduction yet. And that's what the whole point is. On the off chance that Young-yi hadn't lost that fight, they would have proactively won the conflict. Until the group doesn't address Young-yi's last mistake, the public authority won't be keen on subsidizing this task. After the show is finished, Seo-yeon and Sang-hoon have a meeting in private. Sang-hoon reminds Seo-yeon that she has his full backing and that the chairman expects incredible things from her. He began working for the chairman 10 quite a while back. However, he realizes Seo-yeon was taken in when she was a tiny bit of young lady that lost her mom. So it is important to Sang-hoon to have a decent working relationship with her. Thereafter Seo-yeon works with amateur Jae Kyung to see what's the issue with their most recent model. The excess pieces of Young-yi are stirred, and since the mind actually thinks as human, the fake Young-yi goes nuts at seeing herself as a robot and starts languishing in torment. Seo-yeon quickly switches off the agony sensors, permitting Young-yi to go for wrath, all things being equal, and she requests to understand how they treated her. It appears to be this duplicate of the brain is excessively harmed to continue to working on it, so Seo-yeon orders its annihilation. Presently they're finished for the afternoon. Jae Kyung takes the risk to communicate that he is so eager to work here since he's forever been a major enthusiast of Young-yi, calling her a legend. Seo-yeon makes sense of that Young-yi never needed to be a legend. She just joined the war as a soldier to pay for Seo-yeon's medicine since when she was a youngster they found a growth in her lungs. She cried each time her mom went war, and the day of her medical procedure was likewise the day her mom died. Once in a while Seo-yeon contemplates whether her mom making such a sacrifice furthermore dislikes her for it, making Jae Kyung bring up she could simply ask the android, since she shares the real Young-yi's recollections. Seo-yeon says she'll think about it, yet it appears she's frightened to attempt. Then, Seo-yeon leaves for the afternoon and takes the neighborhood train, where she sees a mother collaborating with her kid. This causes her to recall the last day she saw her own mom. Seo-yeon had been preparing for a medical procedure, and Young-yi swung by to wish her best of luck. Previously leaving for the fight, Young-yi had guaranteed she would return and embraced Seo-yeon firmly, giving him a fortunate cheek rub. When the train comes to its objective, Seo-yeon goes to take her yearly morals test that everybody should take to demonstrate they aren't an android, comprising of inquiries related to sentiments and ethics. A short time later, she goes to see her doctor, who unfortunately affirms the cancer is back in her lungs and she just has 3 months left. This implies the medical procedure she has as a youngster. Furthermore, her mom's sacrifice had been to no end. The doctor calls attention to the best strategy would be to duplicate her brain immediately and move it over to a prosthetic body, since laws protect people that do this these days. Anyway, they just protect people that do this with type A, which is amazingly costly. There's additionally Type B, which is less expensive yet loses privileges like marriage, opportunity of development, and reception. And the public authority requires consistency that she will permit them to access her brain information, or then again she could pick Type C, which doesn't regard people as human by any means. It gives up responsibility for brain information, permitting confirmed companies to possess it. This implies they'll make huge number of clones and the person utilizing this choice will presently not be a person. Yet, basically the prosthetic is free. Type C is what Yoon-yi had decided to get the medical procedure cash for her little girl. Seo-yeon guarantees she'll consider it and passes on the doctor to re-energize, on the grounds that he's an android too. As Seo-yeon leaves the building, she recollects the day the company's higher-ups came to her home and requested that her grandma consent to the arrangement that would permit them to utilize Yoon-yi's brain on androids. Consequently, they'd pay for Seo-yeon's childhood. They likewise gifted Seo-yeon an activity figure of Yoon-yi, promising that her mom would be a legend for eternity. In any case, right up to the present day, Seo-yeon is as yet uncertain, assuming that was the best choice. Seo-yeon closes her day by visiting her mom's senseless body, which is kept in a unique chamber so the brain will not rot. The following day, Seo-yeon's team makes another duplicate of the brain and prepares to test it on a new simulation. But first, Sang-hoon maintains that should do something else to attempt to come by another outcome. Furthermore, he arranges the group to shoot the android in the leg before they start. When Yoon-yi awakens in the simulation, she experiences extraordinary agony, the leg wound, and it harms Seo-yeon to see how her mother suffers. Yoon-yi attempts to fight through the pain, yet she's handily overwhelmed, and her will to fight begins to go down. Anyway, when the enemy is going to kill her, a new in her brain illuminates, and Yoon-yi rises up to continue fighting, figuring out how to overcome the robot with simply her clenched hands before she is chanced by an alternate enemy. A pity they've lost this new brain as of now, yet Sang-hoon is energized by this turn of events and is prepared to show it off to the higher-ups. The following day, the entire team passes on the labs and goes to the company headquarters. However, the chairman isn't accessible. Rather, they're met by the new head of the product development department, who continues to laugh at Sang-hoon and not viewing him in a serious league. Sang-hoon is confounded by the requirement for a product development department, since they never had one proceeding since the company just delivers weapons, and he stresses over the likelihood that weapons improvement will be scaled down. Yet his concerns aren't heard and the team is sent away without replies. On the trip back to the labs, Sang-hoon continues to affront the new worker and swears he'll keep the chairman's dream alive. Some days later, the team is taking a gander at the new parts they could use for their next android test when they're informed the chairman has come to see them. While heading to the meeting, Sang-hoon inquires as to whether Seo-yeon has been taking her morals test, since they genuinely should sure she's do fine mentally while managing her own mom as an investigation. When the pair enters the office, Sang-hoon freezes, uncovering he's really an android that the chairman worked by reproducing his own brain. Yet Sang-hoon can't really understand. The chairman has come to bring vital news. The Allied force and the Adrian Republic are marking a settlement, meaning the war is finished and weapons will not be required any longer. He doesn't consider the research they did on Yoon-yi futile. However, it's shown them a ton about growing great AIs and they can utilize it presently to make housekeeping and administration laborer androids. The chairman admits his unique plan was to move his real brain into Sang-hoon to accomplish everlasting status, yet eventually, he duplicated it rather because he didn't try to live inside a machine, which could feel constantly fake. Seo-yeon doesn't mind how counterfeit it very well might be. She needs to go on with her mom's venture. But, the chairman turns down her solicitation. A couple of hours after, the team returns to work, since the project should be wrapped up appropriately before they change objectives. Yoon-yi continues to dying at a similar spot also. Sang-hoon becomes enraged because they can't actuate that new brain area again to seclude it. So he believes it's the ideal opportunity for a few outrageous thoughts. Sang-hoon causes the team to actuate the android and cut her arm. Subsequently, Seo-yeon needs to watch her endure as the agony region of her brain comes to unbearable levels. The new brain area actually won't illuminate, however, and a frantic Sang-hoon attempts to shoot the android's legs close to match the injury from a few days ago. Seo-yeon at last snaps and switches the system off to stop Yoon-yi's affliction, making a maddened Sang-hoon undermine her with his weapon. This isn't sufficient to alarm Seo-yeon and she holds fast. Yet before Sang-hoon can go excessively far, another worker comes to illuminate him. The chairman needs to see him. Sang-hoon leaves without a word, and Seo-yeon expresses gratitude toward her team for all their work. Now is the right time to close down the venture, yet she requests that they gather every one of the information they've gathered and send it to her. In a little while, Seo-yeon disregards the aggravation she's inclination in her lungs and focuses on checking the information out. Incredibly, somebody has sent out her mom's brain one final time without her knowing. Seo-yeon goes to investigate, and when she strolls by Jae Kyung's room, she hears some wicked commotions and advances inside. What she finds there, it's really upsetting. Jae-kyung had been getting lively with another android intended to carry out filthy things, yet at the same time wearing Young-yi face. In the wake of covering the android with a cover, an irate Seo-yeon pushes Jae-kyung against the retires and affronts him for being a sick person. Yet Jae-kyung makes sense if he was simply following orders. It just so happens, making family AIs incorporates making associates equipped for closeness. Furthermore, since Young-yi was so famous, people would pay huge cash to have her as their sweetheart. Later all, Young-yi's persona is Type C, meaning she can be utilized by anybody. Crushed by the news, Seo-yeon leaves the room in tears, acknowledging how she ought to have been seen this approaching when they gifted her very own activity figure dead mother. After a second, Seo-yeon is back in the lab to invest energy with the android before the undertaking is removed. Sang-hoon is as of now there, languishing from despondency since he assumes he lost the chairman's trust and that is the reason their venture got dropped. Seo-yeon overlooks him and enters the android chamber, awakening her in the wake of closing down the pain sensors. When she is Young-yi's consideration, Seo-yeon tells her they've rescued her from the enemy and that she's extraordinarily injured. In this way she'll help her die calmly. When Seo-yeon is going to switch her off, the brain area they had been searching for at long last lights up again as Young-yi inquires as to whether her girl endured the medical procedure. Seo-yeon starts crying as she understands that twice this brain area responded because Young-yi accepted she would die without being familiar with her little girl, and she tells her the medical procedure was a triumph so she can continue on in peace. Young-yi is feeling better to hear this and concedes she's been feeling remorseful on the grounds that during the fight, she lost the little doll her girl gifted her prior to leaving for the medical procedure, which should be a best of luck charm. That is the reason she generally loses at a similar spot. What occupies her is seeing the little doll in the vehicle and being spooky by culpability, not having the option to hear this any longer. Seo-yeon switches her off and has a full breakdown, shouting with her own responsibility. When that is out of her chest, she understands there's something final she can do. The following day, Seo-yeon's solicitations to do a last simulation prior to closing things down. She tells the other colleagues she'll set things up alone. What's more, whenever they're gone, Seo-yeon erases the unidentified piece of Young-yi's brain. Then she continues to murmur in her ear, making sense of the multitude of dreadful things that will happen to her after the last simulation is finished in the event that they don't follow through with something. When the last simulation begins, Young-yi goes through the typical fight strategies and passes on in a similar spot. Not surprisingly, Jae-kyung identifies a few odd readings demonstrating the brain's reaction was more fragile. Yet Sang-hoon couldn't care less in any case. Since the undertaking is over, different workers remove the android and Sang-hoon starts advancing toward his room when he unexpectedly acknowledges he likewise saw something weird. He surges back to the lab and requests the simulation to be replayed in sluggish movement. This permits him to affirm Young-yi hadn't really been shot. She just pretended she had and fell on the standard thing spot. Sang-hoon promptly actuates the caution and Young-yi responds by taking out the workers that were removing her. While everybody prepares for crisis measures, Seo-yeon runs back into the lab and erases all the first task information. Young-yi looks for a method for getting away and goes over a room loaded up with many robots that seem to be her. Before she can settle with this, Sang-hoon's army of safety robots seizes her, setting off a horrendous fight. Young-yi is an incredible fighter for an explanation, however, and she effectively thrashes them all. In any event, when a robot pushes her against a maintenance machine, she takes the risk to turn it against her aggressor. Abruptly, one of the robots exploits her vulnerable side and kicks her from behind prior to pushing her against the wall to kill her. At that point, Seo-yeon at long last appears and impairs the robot in the nick of time. Then, she tells Young-yi they're in the same ship, and Young-yi confides in her because it's the voice from her dreams. Minutes after the fact, another influx of safety robots show up at the shelter. Furthermore, they permit an fellow android to remove Seo-yeon before they take shots at Young-yi. Anyway, when they check the body, and they find Young-yi's body is unfilled, really taking a look at the surveillance cameras uncovers Seo-yeon took the brain duplicate from the normal body and moved it to a security android to escape inconspicuous, abandoning the body with her mom's face to deceive security. Seo-yeon hauls Young-yi into the train, just to find it isn't so vacant as she suspected. Sang-hoon is there sitting tight for them. As the train takes off, Sang-hoon blames Seo-yeon for being careless for all that the chairman's done for herself and advises Young-yi to move back from her girl. Hearing this as her daughter shocks Young-yi. However, Seo-yeon slices in to make sense of she's erased every one of the information about herself from her memory so she can have a new beginning with no more penances. As vengeance for destroying the task, Sang-hoon shoots Seo-yeon in the shoulder, provoking Young-yi to go after him consequently and fire him with his own weapon. Sang-hoon rapidly rises up to continue the fighting, however freezes when he sees his appearance in the window. The harm from the shot has uncovered his way of life as an android. Seo-yeon refers to him as the chairman's little toy and this makes Sang-hoon go off the deep end. Presently he can actuate the capacities of his android body and Sang-hoon assaults Young-yi, beginning the fight that tosses their bodies all around the lodge. What's more, makes the train shake on the rails. In the wake of trading a couple of hits, Sang-hoon figures out how to push Yoon-yi through the window, yet she gives up deliberately to creep around the train and return it through an alternate window. At that point, more security robots show up on an equal train. What's more, they connect the two wagons together. They come after Yoon-yi by going through the windows as well. In any case, Yoon-yi experiences no difficulty overcoming them all with exact strikes. Sang-hoon makes use of this interruption to get her with a snare, and when Seo-yeon sees her mom in a difficult situation, she attempts to prevent the robot from going after her. The robot just drives Seo-yeon away, yet all the same seeing her little girl in peril rouses Yoon-yi to turn out to be more forceful. She annihilates all the remaining robots and removes Sang-hoon from the train. Yet he figures out how to advance back inside by holding onto the hook. As Sang-hoon and Yoon-yi start fighting once more, the train comes to the city. Furthermore, the shaking of two connected wagons turns out to be a lot for the tracks to bear. Seo-yeon figures out how to put her hands on one of the weapons the robots dropped and shoots a hook for Yoon-yi to get. This way she assists her mom with getting back to the first wagon securely, and they let the subsequent wagon fall with Sang-hoon inside. The train at long last quits working when it comes to the mountain region. Yoon-yi needs to deal with Seo-yeon's bullet wound, yet they can hear the police drawing nearer. In any case, so Seo-yeon makes sense if she doesn't have a lot of time left. She needs Yoon-yi to take off and begin another life where she can at last stress over herself rather than her girl. Later some delay, Yoon-yi accepts the arrangement, yet first she expresses farewell by embracing Seo-yeon and giving her a fortunate cheek rub like when she was a kid. As Yoon-yi leaves the train, Seo-yeon wishes her best of luck and die alone, yet feeling she's accomplished. Conclusion. Yoon-yi goes through the mountains, away from any people that might need to utilize her again to partake in her newly discovered opportunity. The end. If you like this story, please subscribe to the channel and like it to motivate me to bring you more stories like this.